quick turnaround for this episode 37 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you, looking ahead to the weekend that will be across European football. We did an extended Champions League podcast on Monday, and I promised our producer today that for a change, we would hit the under. So we're going to be direct. We're going to be straightforward. Jake, are you accepting the mission at play here today?
100%. Yeah, as long as it doesn't explode within 10 seconds of you reading it out.
I'm going to veer off track right away. By the way, all the markets we use for this podcast, courtesy of Pinnacle, we're through the first leg of the quarterfinal Champions League ties. I mean, everything kind of played out as expected, with the exception of Arsenal 3, Real Madrid 0. Any thoughts on that and potential plays heading into the second leg?
No, that Arsenal game was funny, wasn't it? Because we were kind of in disagreement and we still both picked losers. I had the unders, you had both teams to score, and neither cashed. Yeah, I thought the unders was cruising in 0-0 half-time, 50-odd minutes, barely a chance in the game, and then Rice sticks 2 free kicks in and Marino pulls out a worldie. So, that tie, I'm not going to say is over, but it looks very close to over because of Arsenal's defensive strength and the way in which they absolutely bossed that midfield in that first leg. The other games, obviously Dortmund, Barca, that's done and dusted. Barca are going to be through. I can't see, even though Barcelona are the team that have let up big leads in the past. Obviously Liverpool, they came back from 3-0 down. Roma did it to Barcelona as well. I can't see Dortmund winning 4-0, taking it to extra time. And then, obviously Inter Bayern, that was a nice play for us both, given that we're on the Inter outrights and whatnot. So, it was good. It was a good week, good midweek. I think the only bet that stands out to me, really, is to back Aston Villa to beat PSG in the second leg, plus 221. I saw enough in that first leg from Villa to suggest they can cause PSG problems. Obviously, PSG can afford to lose the game and still qualify because they've got 2-goal lead. So they won't be too worried about that. But it's a really interesting game. Obviously, PSG dominated possession, dominated the shot count, but Villa actually created more big chances than PSG. And I think that's something that to keep an eye on as we go to the second leg. And plus 221 is probably not a fair reflection of how good Villa are, especially at home.
You're a brave man, Jake Osgathorpe. I'm not willing to extend my praise of Aston Villa that far, but that's turning to be par for the course here on this Pinnacle FC podcast. Wednesday was a great day for me in the Champions League. Let's roll with a positive Wednesday as well. When the markets come out on Pinnacle, Real Madrid to advance, I might have to sprinkle on it. But the play that is available, because I think that Real Madrid will be in the goals in the second leg. If Kylian Mbappe can just open his hips a little bit wider and score that chance that he had in all alone in the first half, I think it's a different story. But plus 138 Real Madrid to win, combined with over 2.5, for me, that would be my play in that game. And my favorite play coming up next week in the Champions League, Inter on the handicap to 0 at minus 103. This Bayern Munich side, just you looked at their team, you looked at their bench, you looked at the players available, their classicers this weekend. We'll get into that in a little. I just can't see it. Inter to come away with a draw. It's no bet. They can win this outright. Wouldn't surprise me either. Minus 103. That will be a play that I'll be making next week, and which combined with my Inter to advance at plus 115, and try to get greedy here, maybe double dip a little bit. So those are my plays. Let's get into the weekend that will be, and let's start off in the Premier League, where all eyes are kind of on the Champions League, and that's about it. But obviously, betting individual fixtures, who cares what the table says in terms of jockeying for positioning. Let's start off with Man City and Crystal Palace this weekend. City are the significant favorites heading into this one. In fact, Palace is an underdog by a full goal on the handicap. What do you make of that? I'm a little bit surprised, and for this reason. Crystal Palace have 16 points in 7 games since the beginning of February, that is. I'm making up my own months now. Man City, 11 points in 8 over that span. Palace has been the better side. Yes, Mark Gahey's out through suspension, so is Eddie Nketiah, who is a player that comes off the bench anyways. And watching City play without Holland, without a number of their defenders in that, Manchester derby last weekend, how do I not make a play on Crystal Palace +1 at +106? Seems like it should be one of my best bets of the week, and I'm just about to make it. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm in full agreement. Just see it as very disrespectful to Palace, really. Palace has been excellent the last 3-4 months. I've said it on the show before, like the underlying data for Palace has got them as a top 3 team over the last 16 games. Obviously come off the back of a good win against Brighton, where they created plenty of chances and did a good job limiting Brighton. And yeah, there's no reason really that City should be this short. As you said, they look stale against Man United, and also interestingly, a Man United team that play in a similar formation set up to Crystal Palace, which might be a little clue there as to what we could expect from the Eagles at the Etihad. And yeah, obviously going the other way, Palace have got serious threat. Mateta, Eze, Ismail Assar, they'll all be playing. The wing-backs, Munoz and Mitchell, are a handful. So yeah, I don't see a reason why we should be jumping off this Crystal Palace bandwagon. And as you said, the no Haaland factor is huge. I think we're seeing it more against teams that are well organised defensively, because it just makes it a lot easier for those back 3 or back 2. They don't really have anywhere to mark. And generally when teams play City, they play deeper anyway, which means that the holding midfielders are just blocking the passing lanes anyway. So yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle for City this one, and more than happy to get Palace on board. And I would not be surprised if this line moves as well by the time get closer to kick off. Maybe it goes off at +3/4. I mean, the price is already moving in our favour. So
yeah, just in my note, I just seen an update on Pinnacle. It's +101 now. So get it while you can. Just on Palace, no losses in their last 8. In fact, 7 of those games ended in a win, other than a random 1-1 at Southampton, which seems really out of place, considering even over their last 12 games, they're 8-2-2, and they have the second most points in the Premier League over that 12-match span. Like, that is a significant sample size. And over the last 5 meetings between these two sides, Palace has scored twice in 4 of the 5 games that they played, and those were better City teams than the side that we're looking at now. So that's a play for me this weekend. Sounds like the same for you. What else are you looking at in the Premier League this weekend, Jake?
I was very, very tempted by Aston Villa on the handicap against Southampton, but
you're just rolling with Villa. Just keep on going.
I just think if even Juric was still in charge, I would make this bet. But the fact that he's now gone, he was sacked on Monday. There might be a smaller feel-good factor. I mean, I don't know if you can feel good about being the fastest team ever to be relegated according to the game weeks in the season. But they might find a little bit of a bump that way. Obviously, Villa, it's coming off a Champions sandwich between a Champions League game. Just enough of a nagging doubt to kind of put me off. So instead, I mean, I don't really have much else for that Saturday. Forest, I think that price did stand out to me initially, but again, digging a little bit deeper, Everton just don't lose many football matches. They've lost twice in I think in 10 or 11 David Moyes' matches.
Yeah, no interest in that.
They've drawn a lot of games as well. So even though Forest have been dominant against the bottom half, I'm more than happy to overlook it. So nothing else from Saturday. Do you have anything else from Saturday?
I believe so. I'm just checking one thing right now. Yes, I do. I actually have 2 plays. I don't think you're bearing the lead. You're bearing the biggest question. Will Leicester City ever score a goal again? Like, Monday was another cracking day. Like, there was some serious value on betting Leicester City not to score against Newcastle. Combined Newcastle win to 0. I think it was at +185. Hit both. I played both in that game. And I actually did a security bet because it was going to be a high-scoring game if Leicester City did score. And Newcastle to win in over 2.5 goals. It was a brilliant day Monday. They're at Brighton this weekend. Brighton win to 0 is available at +109. I say, why not? Leicester City have lost 9 in a row. They haven't scored a goal in their last 7 overall and their last 8 in the Premier League. And they haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 27 games. It's incredible. Over this 8-game stretch, no goals scored, 21 conceded. Do you just continue to go back to the well and make that play? I know it's +109. You're getting less juice. They're playing away from home. But, like, if you've been making Leicester to nil or under their goal total over the last 3 months, you are a very happy bettor. I see very little reason to get off that, especially with this side playing away from home. They're done. They're dusted. They're demoralized. I think you can make that play again this weekend. Also on Saturday, I have to back Brentford a full goal as an underdog on the handicap. It's at minus 121 at Arsenal. Okay, our Arsenal still need to go to Madrid and get the job done next week. I think Brentford's a decent enough team. They've won 4 of their last 5 away. Even of a bigger concern for Arteta this weekend is that Saka and Rice both came out of that game. They're already depleted. Timber was limping throughout that game. He needs to proceed with caution. They can't take anything for granted, even up 3-0 going back to Madrid. So I think Brentford, a full goal on the handicap at minus 121. That's a great bet to make for me this weekend, this Saturday as well. So any comments on either one of those?
No, I had the same thought around Leicester and Brighton. I just couldn't pull the trigger at that price. I think it's a little bit too risky. Brighton have only kept 2 clean sheets in the last 8 league games, and I know Leicester are really, really poor. But before that bad run that you were talking about, they had scored away. They scored away at United in the FA Cup, scored twice at Spurs, scored at Villa, scored at Liverpool.
Seems
so they are
distant
capable.
Seems distant.
And Brighton have got no Van Heck. He's suspended. So that was enough for me to kind of look at that price and go, I'd probably want plus 130. But yeah, I like the Arsenal play. 100% on board with that. I think that's definitely something that we should see. More rotation. Obviously, they didn't win at Everton last week. Brentford are a better team than Everton. Have more attacking capabilities as well. And yeah, they're also going to take no chances with anybody. So I'm fully on board with that one. As for Sunday, the games that stood out to me was just keep riding the low goal totals in Chelsea games. I'm staggered that the line's at 3.25.
Me too. I circled that right away, Jake. I'll let you explain why.
Yeah, it's huge. The last 6 games across all competitions, we record this Thursday, so we don't know how they've got on against Legia, but yeah, I think they've seen a combined 7 goals in the last 6 games prior to the Legia match, which is just absolutely like ludicrous for a team that's stacked with attacking quality. But it just goes to show the style change in which Maresca's got them going. Just possession based, passive, very risk averse. It means you're not conceding many chances, which is shown by their underlying data, conceding just 0.7 xg, but they're also not creating anywhere near as much as what you'd expect from a team that should finish in the top 4, top 5. Just 0.99 expected goals for. And I know Ipswich are going to be swinging for the fences, but you just can't imagine them doing it too recklessly because they could get hiding. So I do think there's going to be a little bit of a contain and counter approach from Ipswich, and that's going to basically just mean frustrating Chelsea, if you like. And it don't take much to frustrate Chelsea. There'll be a lot of boos and a lot of murmuring around the Stamford Bridge if it's still 0-0 after an hour, which I suspect it will be. The line's just too high.
Yeah, I'm thinking the total. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nicholas Jackson's back. That certainly helps. Medaweke's back as well. Ipswich Town just concede far too. Like from an attacking perspective, they're okay, but defensively, they're a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So
the only thing I would add to what you're saying there is that Maresca's prioritising the Conference League at the minute, which might surprise people. But last week against Brentford, Jackson on the bench, Palmer on the bench, Cucurella on the bench, Colwell on the bench. So I won't be surprised if he does the same again this weekend, and you're setting up against Ipswich without 3 of your best attacking players. So that also is in our favour for the unders. But yeah, the line, I thought the line at least should have been 3. I probably would still back it at 2.75, to be honest, just the way which Chelsea are playing. And if you want some extra juice, Chelsea to win and under 2.5 goals, it probably is a way that I would go as well. It's just plus 347. It's just, you covered for 1-0, 2-0, 1-0 and 2-0, which I think is definitely in the equation.
The only other match that's worth a mention for me, will Manchester United score this weekend?
No.
At Newcastle. It's a tough trip. They play Lyon. Like their season's predicated on how they do in the Europa League games. This one's sandwiched in between. Newcastle's aside, they've already beat United 2-0 this season. Under United goals, It's listed at half a goal, and it's at plus 185.
Wow.
Seems a huge number for United not to score. I mean, even when they're fresh and playing for something, it looks a difficult task for them to score. So, that looks like a number that's too good to pass up for me as well.
Yep, 100% on board with that. Newcastle are probably still backable at the price at minus 148 for people that like really, really sure things. They just look really good. And the Carabao Cups, if anything, it's inspired them as opposed to seeing them on the beers celebrating for the rest of the season. They are desperate to try and get into the Champions League now. It's within touching distance. They've got a game in hand over teams above them, so they can really make a statement here with winning this one and then going and beating Palace next midweek. I won't put anybody off backing them on the handicap, minus 3/4 at minus 116. But yeah, just opposing United goals. As you said, United not to scores away in, Newcastle win to nils plus 233. Any of those is the midweek factor for United. The fact that they just don't look like they've got any ideas, to be honest. And at some point, Amorim's going to have to rest players for the Europa League because he hasn't been doing recently. Like Fernandes has played every single minute of every game, it seems. He's going to need a rest, and who knows when that might be. But just anti-Manchester United.
Okay, that's all for me in the Premier League. Same for you?
Yeah, that's it for me. How surprised were you to see Wolves at plus 124 to beat Spurs?
I was, but it's just a position that, like, all that's going on around Big Ange right now, it's just not a play that I want to make, either pro nor opposing Spurs, even with their Europa League games. The temperature's too high for me, and there's too many just other variables for me to make them a play right now. I'm not sure what your angle or your thought on that is. Yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but I just can't make that play.
Yeah, I expect. I mean, I went into before I looked at the odds. I kind of had an idea that I wanted to back Wolves, but I was thinking more like plus 150, something like that. But plus 124 is just way too short. And if anything, I'd be looking at
that's
going
a
the other way.
Europa League factor, right? And just
and Cunha's back as well, which obviously improves Wolves' chances. But I still think that's a little bit too short. And but like I said, there's too many other aspects. So yeah, I've just leave that one alone, really.
Okay. Yeah,
move on to
in full agreement there. That, like, it's just let's see what happens over these two legs with Spurs. Then I can maybe get back to making them a regular play in the Premier League, which has been a fun play to make this season, opposing them. I love to get back on that train. La Liga this weekend. Man, Real Madrid, Barcelona in very different places heading into the weekend as well. Probably skews in Barcelona's favor. I look at Real Madrid this weekend. They're going to Alavés to win. They're a favorite by a full goal. If you want to back them to win away from home by a goal, you can get it at plus 110 on the Asian handicap. On the handicap, it's 3/4 of goal at minus 122. Alavés on the season have scored 11 goals at home. 11. That's extraordinary. They've only conceded 15 and 14 at home, by the way. Real Madrid has beat Alavés 6 times. Alavés no clean sheets against Real Madrid in their last 10. I'm just tempted for this to be kind of a get back on track, take out some frustration game for Madrid, set the tone heading into midweek. Camavinga will certainly start because he's suspended for the game against Arsenal next week. Is that a number that's worthwhile to play, considering how bad Alavés is and what this game really means? It still means something for Real Madrid in terms of La Liga as well.
It's so difficult. I mean, Madrid have not played well for a while now. Obviously, got turned over by Valencia, then get hammered in midweek. 4 points behind Barca. Barca get to play on the Saturday. Barca win that game, it goes to 7. Even more pressure on Madrid. Trying to juggle everything, rotate players, etc. I don't know. I think I'd just be avoiding this game altogether. Same with the Barca game, to be honest. Don't have any confidence in taking Barca minus 1.5, even though Leganés are not exactly the best team in the world. It's just the factor of a midweek that's extremely tiring. And let's be honest, Madrid did a lot of running in that Arsenal game. They didn't dominate the football. They did a lot of running. They were harried regularly and obviously got turned over quite badly. But yeah, the only game that I actually liked the look of in La Liga was Atletico Madrid and Valladolid. Our good old friends Valladolid, who are the Southampton of La Liga. Yeah, they're
Maybe
going to go down
maybe
soon.
relegated down 2 divisions, like there.
We,
Monza, Southampton, Valladolid. Man, it's just the collection of what?
they should do that. Like if you get less than 20 points in a 38 game season, you should drop 2 divisions. Just that's simply unacceptable. But yeah, it's a bit of a stretch. Don't get me wrong, but Atletico -2.5 on the handicap at +128. You might think, you're being crazy. Atletico Madrid don't score that many goals. Well, Valladolid concede that many goals. Against the top 6 or top 5 they've played away from home, lost 7-0 at Barca, 3-0 at Real, 7-1 at Bilbao, 5-1 at Villarreal. And I know Atletico, they probably are out of the title race, but you never know with Spanish football. We've seen Barca go on runs where they've not won for 3 or 4. Madrid obviously having a bit of a wobble, so they just got to keep going. And in that case, with that mindset, they're going to want to improve the goal difference because it's very inferior to their rivals, and this looks a good opportunity to do that. So a big win on Monday.
Okay. I was considering Barcelona over their team total at 2.5. Watching this team play, like they're the best team to watch. They're just so good from an attacking perspective. If they're going to rotate Barcelona, it's got to be in the midfield. It's got to be in the back four. And they'll score enough goals to get the job done. Leganés is the worst team expected goals against at home in Serie A, in La Liga, that is. And it's not particularly close. They've conceded 9 in their last 4, and they haven't played a team like Barcelona, at home on the season.
Do you remember back in December when Leganés beat Barca?
I do.
How
1-0.
random was that?
1-0. It's
So
one
random.
of the most outrageous results. Away from home, it wasn't at home because they're just a horrible home side. Only, it's not an official play for me, but a strong lean. Rayo Vallecano at Atlético Bilbao. Bilbao's at Rangers Thursday. They're in the final 8 of the Europa League. They haven't lost in 5. They haven't conceded a goal in 3, but they've only scored 2 goals in their last 5 La Liga games. All of these games are close. And Vallecano was embarrassed at home 4-0 to Espanyol last week. And it's just one of those get-right games. It's good context when they play Bilbao, a team that's not scoring goals. And we'll see what happens Thursday. You can get Vallecano on the handicap plus 3/4 of a goal at +101. So I want to see what happens with Bilbao tonight. If there's anything in doubt heading into the second leg, I will be making a Rayo Vallecano play on the handicap. To Serie A we go. A couple marquee games this weekend, including the Rome derby, Lazio and Roma. This one catches the eye because of the rivalry, because of how good Roma's been. But Lazio returning home from a trip to the Arctic Circle against Bodo Glimt on Thursday. They're also in the Europa League. For me, Roma on the handicap, it's at 0, so essentially a draw, no bet. At -114 is absolutely a play I'll be making. Roma's 7-1-0 in their last 8, 11-4-0 in their last 15 in Serie A, 28 scored, 8 conceded. Lazio have been wobbling 6-3, 22-19 conceded over that span. Roma's won the last 2 meetings. Even if you want to back Roma outright to win +165, I would not talk you off that. They've been an underside with some of the injuries that they're dealing with, but Roma, for me, my favorite play is just betting them on 0 on the handicap. Any thoughts there and elsewhere across Serie A this weekend?
I've got the same play down here. Looks massive. I mean, it's a huge game as well, just for context. Roma 7th in the league, Lazio 6th. They're only 2 points separating each other. They're only 4 points and 2 points behind Champions League spots. But the other caveat to that is that it's a huge opportunity because Atalanta, who are 3rd, play Bologna, who are 4th, the same weekend. So one or both of those teams are going to drop points. So the winner of this game is going to be right in the hunt for the top 4, like hot on the heels of of Atalanta, who are really, really struggling at the moment, and Bologna, who, to be fair, are absolutely surging, aren't they? So yeah, it's a massive game in that regard. But for me, Roma are the better team comfortably, as you mentioned, and Lazio are coming off a very, very long trip on a Thursday night. So far from ideal preparations. Roma all the way.
Anything else in Serie A?
No, I was toying with the idea of backing Bologna on the handicap at -111 against my beloved Atalanta, but
Good game.
yeah, it's a good game, and as I mentioned, the Atalanta just bang out of form, 3 straight defeats. I was slightly concerned a few weeks ago when I looked at their schedule that they have got a lot of the teams around them to play, and they're losing to those teams. So Inter have beaten them; they're currently the lead leaders. Fiorentina, they're currently 8th. They beat them, and obviously Lazio last week. So yeah, this is a massive, massive game for Atalanta. I think if they lose this, they don't finish in the top 4. And I do wonder if it all stems back to the Champions League exit and the Gasperini throwing Lookman under the bus, and whether that's just left a sour taste in the dressing room. So yeah, I wouldn't want to be with Atalanta this weekend. They've not scored in 3 games, and that is extremely unlike them. So if anything, I'd be looking at Bologna on the handicap.
That 2-0 loss to Inter, like they were still kind of in the mix, and then just losing that game at home, I think it was just the dagger. It's done. Season's over. They'll pick up some points, but yeah, I'm with you. I can make the case all day and tomorrow that Napoli will win 2-0 over Empoli. I don't love the number at -109, but Napoli 5-2-0 in their last 7 at home. They're only 3 points back of Inter. They need a win, but they've only come away with 1 clean sheet in their last 10. They are due because Empoli 0-3-5 in their last 8. In their last 8 in Serie A. No wins in 6 overall. No wins in 16, I should say, in Serie A, with 10 goals scored over that 16 game period. The last 5 meetings between these two sides has ended in 0 as well. But at -109, is it worth it? Probably not, but you can justify it. That game is being played on Monday. And let's finish up quickly in the Bundesliga. Anything there, Jake? The Klassikers this weekend. No bet for me into Klassiker. I mean, with what's on the line in the Champions League, with the depleted nature of Bayern Munich, the only justifiable way I can back this is Dortmund on the handicap, but I don't even love that away from home in what I've seen. So I'll give the floor to you.
Yeah, I've struggled to find a bet in this one. I think if I had a lean, it would be the unders, under 3.5 goals. Like you said, depleted. Both teams are coming off poor performances, poor defeats. They're going to be focusing more on the second legs than, maybe not in Dortmund's case, but Bayern definitely will be. So I could see there being a little bit of a dearth of goals. But my favourite bet in the Bundesliga is actually at the Sunday game between Frankfurt and Heidenheim, where I'm going to chance Heidenheim on the handicap at +3/4, which is at -106. And it's just off the back of the fact that Frankfurt have got a big Europa League game at Spurs. Their results after Europa League matches, just 4 wins in 10. I think it's interesting that they are actually won once at the last 5 as well. They started the season unbeaten with 3 wins and 2 draws from the first 5 post-Europa League matches, and since then it's gone badly. They've only got 1 win. That was against Bochum, who were rubbish. And Heidenheim, they were knocked out of the Conference League the last round, so they've kind of seen an upturn in form since then. They've won 2, drawn 2, lost 2. Had a narrow defeat at Leverkusen last time out, put on a good display, and I think they can go to Frankfurt and avoid, obviously taking them on this handicap, we get a full payout if they avoid defeat and half a payout if they lose by a goal. So yeah, I'm more than happy to make that play, and they are desperate. They're scrapping around at the bottom. They're currently 16th, 4 points behind St. Pauli, so they need all the points they can get.
We're just about to hit the overs, so I got to get your best top 3 bets of the week very quickly.
Okay, bet number 1, under 3.25 goals, Chelsea, Ipswich. It's going to be Roma, draw or +0 handicap, -114, and Heidenheim +3/4 of a handicap.
Okay, Brentford on the handicap, a full goal at -121. Palace on the handicap, a full goal at +106. And Roma on the handicap at 0 at -114. We'll do it all again next week. hit the like button. Please subscribe to Pinnacle FC. On behalf of Jake, I'm Wheels. We're going to push on the total here, the total time of this podcast. It's been episode 37 of Pinnacle FC.